Going to bring you our perspective guest today. What does it mean to be a human, or more specifically, a humanist? Is it about culture? Is it about morals? Is it about principle, science, free thinking, about feelings, or about optimism? Or is it all of the above? Well, hopefully we can help you answer that question over the next 5 minutes or so. My guest is Sarah Bakewell, author and professor. Her latest book, Humanly Possible, 700 Years of Humanist Free Thinking, Inquiry and Hope. Thanks very much for coming in and talking to us. First of all then, just tell us what being a humanist means to you.
Well, as you said there, it can mean all of the above. And to me too, it means that. I think that I've come to it from different angles, partly the historical tradition of the humanities, humanist study in that sense, but also being a humanist in a moral sense. There are humanist organisations that are very active campaigning for, I guess, humanist values in various ways. And I finally realised that all this did come together, in a sense, in what I believe and what's important to me.
And presumably if you ask different humanists the same question, you would get a different answer, and they would put things in a slightly different priority, and that's what makes us individuals?
They certainly do tend to say that. It's not a movement with an ideology or a dogma that you have to agree to. That's one of the, almost it's a paradox that to be a humanist is to associate yourself with certain ideas, but humanists by definition tend to like to be individualists and not adhere to a dogma. And I think that works. I think in practical ways that works.
How does it work though? Because if you haven't got a dogma, kind of what's the point, I suppose?
Well, or is that exactly the point, that dogmas are what cause so many problems in the human world, whether it's religious, institutional dogmas which dictate how we should behave and what we should do, or political, authoritarian dogmas. I mean, I think we're very much seeing a lot of that today. So to be a humanist that doesn't want to have a dogma is perhaps no bad stance to take.
And where does it leave religion? Because, I mean, a lot of people would rely on religion for a lot of what you're talking about, but being a humanist excludes religion?
For me, absolutely not. No, it doesn't have to. I mean, humanists do differ in how they feel about religion. Some active humanists feel very strongly that religion generally has a sort of pernicious effect, or that it has too much power institutionally in the world. I tend to go along with that last bit, but for me, I love, religious art. I think religious traditions are fascinating. It's for me, a human activity, creating religious ideas, art, culture, all of that, and community, the sense of community that religion can bring. I see it as a part of being a human being that's, important and valuable. But I do feel that when it becomes authoritarian, when it becomes something that tries to dictate how one should behave in certain, especially sexual morality, so-called morality, I think that it's sort of mission creep for me.
Yeah, that's
so I value it, but I think this is where the idea of the human comes in, is that what really matters is human flourishing, not an ideology. Human flourishing in a sense that includes the natural world of which we're a part. I mean, I don't think it sets humans against nature at all. That's one of the misconceptions some people have about it.
And how do you put all of what you've just said into an entire book? Because that obviously involves a lot more. I mean, you go back a lot in history, don't you? Talking about 700 years of humanist thinking.
Yeah, I mean, at least I limited it to 700 years. That's something. At one point, I thought it would be a lot more. But I was really interested in the humanities sense of it too. So a humanist is someone who practices the humanities, studies culture, history, the arts. And I was really interested in that tradition. That's where I came from originally, having written about Montaigne and people like that, who were very much in that tradition. So I started it in the 1300s with Petrarch and Boccaccio, who were sort of redefined a new sense of what it is to be a humanist, and traced it through really people that I was interested in, particularly from that point onwards.
Sounds like an awful lot of research has gone into this.
It was, but it was fun. I enjoyed it, but I had to be a bit careful about not including too much and just getting lost. So I tried to. My rule was really, if I thought it was really interesting, I'd keep it in. If I thought it was not so interesting, I'd sling it out.
I mean, you've obviously succeeded. I read one review which called the book an intoxicating, joyful celebration of the human spirit.
That I'm very happy to have it described that way. I think that is the spirit behind it. It's not all sunshine and light. I mean, humanists acknowledge that we live in a very difficult world where there's a very dark side to what humans get up to. The idea is that that's not a thing against humanism. It just means we need more of the humanist attitude, not less of it.
You're going to be debating a lot of these issues, aren't you? You're in a discussion a little bit later on at the American Library. Tell us about that.
Yes, tonight I'm going to be speaking with Scott Hershowitz, who's written a wonderful book called Nasty, Brutish and Short, Adventures in Philosophy with Kids. And he talks about asking his kids what they think about certain philosophical issues, or they propose the questions and then he goes. So I think it's going to be a really fun evening because between that and the history of humanism, I think we've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
You've only got 700 years to cover, at least, anyway.
Yeah, in one evening.
Exactly. I think it may take you all evening, I suspect. Anyway, it's at the American University. No, not American University. American Library.
The American Library.
Okay.
Yes.
American Library. At what time tonight? Just
at 7 o'clock, I think.
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay. You never know. There might be some people watching out there who will now turn up to join in with that. Sarah, thanks very much for coming in and talking to us. Sarah Bakewell, author of the book Humanly Possible: 700 Years of Humanist Freethinking, Inquiry and Hope. There you go. That's what the front cover looks like. You can pick it up, I'm sure, at your bookshop. Thanks a lot.